Welcome. Oh my gosh, so happy today to be talking with Lisa Klare, who is an art photographer, and she has a variety of interests, including dream interpretation, intuitive work, and reading energy. Some of these things that she's been involved in preceded the passing of her son, but this is something that she and I share after the passing of our children, is really looking at synchronicity, looking at things that help and that lift us up and help us to feel a connection with our sons. So Lisa, welcome. So glad that you're joining me today.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Great. And who's that on your lap? You have a little
This is Pedro.
Pedro. Oh, so sweet.
Where I go, Pedro goes, unfortunately, sometimes.
That's really sweet.
Hopefully he'll behave himself.
Yeah, I'm sure Pedro will. So you and I, we, like many, we either met in a grief group or an online group in some way. And you had been writing about, wanting to write a book, and I had written a book, but I've got another book in my belly, so to speak, that, it's sitting, a lot of content is sitting, but I haven't really thought about how to get it out and put it out. So we touched base like that, and then I kind of circled back around and reached out again, and then all of a sudden we were like both too much to text. So I was like, let's just talk.
Perfect storm.
Let's just talk. And there it was. And some things that were kind of discovered in that conversation just a few days ago were really, I think, warranted this conversation about synchronicity and how synchronicity helps a parent who has lost a child feel that connection to them. Like some things are just unexplainable. So
It's so true.
a couple of things. So your son's birthday is in June.
Yes.
My
21st.
stepson's birthday is in June, and my son's birthday is in June.
My daughter's birthday's in June, and so is mine.
So that's a lot of June. That's a lot of June. Yeah.
Right.
So, those things. Okay. So, big deal, right? So big deal.
Well,
Those
unless
markers.
you've lost somebody, right? And then the month takes on a whole different flavor.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you can't help but go to the what ifs and the memories from the past and all of that. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's kind of colored by it, I'd say.
Yeah. And then to find someone else, or to meet someone else who has something in common, not only the loss of a child, but some other thing. Like in 2014 is when your Alex passed.
That's
And when
right.
I heard that, because Rich passed in September of 2014, there's like a bond in a way. Someone else was going through a nightmare at the time that I was, and it connects us.
It kind of can't help but. I mean, yours was September and mine was essentially the very end of November. December 1 was the death date that was given. But yeah, like you're in your darkest, most painful place. And there's this comfort in knowing, we kind of always know that we're never truly alone, but to have somebody in that same time frame that like it's just a bond. It's like having a soul sister, really, in a way, even though we didn't know each other.
I know, and it's not uncommon. I mean, that's the thing that I'm discovering now on this journey too. When I'm talking to people and understanding how we met and all these things, it's there are these networks of us that we keep frequenting these places where we find each other, and then things are revealed that take us even deeper.
I
So
know, it's so fun.
the other day we were talking, and just exploratory, just kind of exploring, okay, well, your kids' birthdays or your kid's birthday is in June, and mine are in June as well, and then we started talking a little bit, and you were talking about a move that you just made, and relocating, and the challenges of that, and then you said you live in Illinois. So I was like, well, where?
And
And
then it turns out that you know exactly where I live.
I know exactly where, because that's my hometown. My hometown is Chicago, and Rich grew up in Chicago. My son grew up in Chicago.
Yeah, I had no
Um,
idea.
yeah, you had no idea. I had no idea about where you were located or anything, except Central Time Zone. I probably had on record somewhere. So then, and also that conversation came at a time when I was feeling a little homesick. And we're in this quarantine, and I can't go home to visit my nieces and my sister and those things. And here you are, we're talking about the places that I really know, the places that I know along the lakefront and that. And so there was a warmth of that, that it's what I needed actually was to,
Oh, I had no idea. That's even
yeah,
better.
it's so funny, and it's not like I'm a homesick kind of gal usually, but it's been a while, and there's
Everything has
nothing like the
shifted too
smell.
lately.
What's
Like
that?
everything has deepened and shifted with the quarantine. I mean, like when you spend that much time going inward,
Mhm. Yeah,
it's no surprise that you're feeling the feelings of home, right?
yeah. And there's nothing like the smell of the earth from a particular location. Just the smell of the trees, the oxygen, all those things.
It's
So
true.
that knowing where you live is really a sweet kind of thing as well.
But that was the tip off with our big synchronicity,
Yeah.
right? Because then you started talking about Logan.
Yep. Yep. So my stepson Logan, I mentioned to you that day that we were talking, passed in 1993, and that maybe you knew about his story, because it was a big
Mhm.
story in the Midwest, and he was killed in a head-on train collision, and you knew the story.
I knew this story, and I had mentioned to you that I was especially keen on train accident stories because I had been in a train accident in 1972. So I always kind of heard about train accidents and had that level of empathy for people involved. But as you went on talking, it started sounding more than just familiar of remembering the accident, because I think I said to you, I think I know somebody that lost a child in that accident. And you responded, there was only one child that died in that accident. Then I thought maybe I was mistaken. And then we went on a little bit farther with it. You told me the South Shore train line. And I thought, wait a minute, that's the same train line.
Mhm.
And it wasn't until I asked you his last name that I made the connection that I had purchased art from your stepson's mother, and had even later, a couple years later, maybe met his father, who was probably your husband at the time, right?
Yeah.
At a young workshop
Hmm.
someplace. It was just like, how does this happen? Like, we meet online. You're in California. I'm in Chicago. Like, how does this happen? Like, synchronicity is the most marvelous, unexpected thing. And we even got to the point, if I'm not mistaken, by the end of our conversation, that we thought these two boys are in cahoots, maybe all three of them. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. And the messages, because maybe you're the same. I'm forever asking my son, Alex, for messages. Always, always, always asking for messages. So I asked, for a bird messenger. And then suddenly I get all these crazy things. I'm like, what is a bird messenger? I didn't even know what came out of my mouth. And then the morning of his birthday, which we had decided to make Thanksgiving dinner, his favorite meal, on Father's Day, which was his birthday. So 6:30, I'm sitting in my kitchen window thinking about him. It's his birthday morning, and here comes a crow and lands on the roof. And then a second crow lands on the roof next door. And then here comes a third crow. And because I've done dream work for so many decades, I know that crows are symbolic of magic and the magic of creation in the air. And I thought, well, just another sign. And
Oh
it's
my
it's
God.
really bad when you're saying just another sign, because you hear so many. When some people struggle because they feel like they haven't had any, and yet I think they have lots of them and don't understand the synchronicity, don't understand that it isn't just coincidence, that this is something meaningful that's happening in their lives.
And then sometimes it's a matter of, like, I feel like I'm a detective sometimes. I was when Logan passed. I was a detective wanting to know every single detail of what happened at that accident. And
Oh,
now I feel that same energy regarding an experience like this. So the three crows, I just have to say, a symbol for me from Rich is the crow. So the fact
okay.
that there were three,
Three of them. Oh my God, and our three boys.
oh my gosh. I mean,
How
that,
crazy is that? One of them was in a tree. Like it bypassed the two on the roof and landed in a nearby tree. And I thought, an outlier. But still, three crows, right?
that's wild.
You
Oh
can't
my God.
make this stuff up, is the bottom line. Like, you just can't make it up. I had an experience once where I was, again, like begging my child for a sign. And I'm walking through the park, walking the dogs. And all of a sudden, I find a big old owl feather.
Wow.
Owl feather? Like, that's not a common thing to find. I couldn't believe it. And then later the next day, I heard an owl when I was getting in a car at noon. And I thought, oh my God, I'm making this up. And
Wow.
next thing that happened, I was driving behind a truck. And as it turned, its logo on the side was O period W period L period. And I thought, okay, I get the message. You can't make this
Wow.
up. It's
Wow.
truly amazing.
Well,
And that was his bird.
documenting really helps too, so that because otherwise they're like dreams. If you don't
Right, to lose it.
you lose it, right?
Yeah.
That just starts fading. And then it's like, well, did that really happen? Or did it happen that way? Or what was the sequence? So after my son Rich passed, unlike after Logan passed, I never wrote this stuff down with Logan. However, there were some things that were so profound, they stay with me. Like, for example, him asking his mom, do trains run on the same track? And
Oh,
he died in the one place of shared track on that entire line, like that kind of thing. So there were several of those. Then fast forward to 2014 when my son Rich passed, the synchronicities started happening again, and I started documenting with photographs, with writing, whatever way I could to document. This is really happening. This is really what I'm seeing. And that's what the material is for my book, if I ever figure out how to organize it. And
I must have a wealth of it by now. I
yeah,
didn't write everything down, or I was writing it on scraps here and there. And now I'm in the process of trying to cull it all together, and it's not easy.
yeah. So your idea for a book is similar, though. It's about synchronicities and these experiences, or what is that idea?
They kind of factor in what I really believe that I'm being instructed through my son to write, because I'm actually channeling him for a lot of the book. And some of it is hysterical. Like, I'm driving on the interstate and suddenly I hear in my head, okay, so here's my introduction. And I hear like him talking to me. I'm like, no, this is not the time that I want to get your introduction to a book. So he wants to be participatory in it, which is fine with me. But so I'm sort of structuring it, because what I think I need to do is help people understand that even in the most serious depths of grief, they're still with us. We're missing their physical presence, but they really haven't gone anywhere. So I think what I'm trying to do is demonstrate how I could be not only standing upright within a week of his death, but really in acceptance of it within a week of his death. And to a great degree, because I sort of had a sense that something was coming. And also because I had this understanding that that was his path, that that's as far as he was meant to go.
Mm.
And, and so I guess what I'm writing is a bit of his history, a bit of my history, and what I've learned intuitively and things of that nature, dream work and signs and symbols, and kind of piecing together a bit of a chronology of how to get from here to there without completely losing it, because it's so tempting to just completely lose it. You lose a child and it's as if there's like this Klieg light in your heart that's forever searching for them from that moment forward, because we know that as mothers, we all believe that it's our job to keep our children safe. And what happens when they're not? Like, what happens when the worst possible thing can happen? You know, it's not like that little light turns off, still searching for him. But fortunately, he shows up enough that I know that he's in better shape than I am, basically. So that's a plus.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful also to be having an idea that you're working on, and he's with you, keeps him, or not keeps him, but it invites him into the present, as opposed to this happened way back then. So for example,
Yeah.
Logan passed in 1993 because he was so young, and I didn't have the same relationship that I had with him as I did with my son Rich. I loved him, but I didn't know him like I knew Rich, who had a full life.
Right.
But so over the years, you know, he was back there in 1993. I went on in my life and he was back there. More recently, after my son Rich passed, I asked him right away, like, where's Logan? You know, where is Logan? Is he there with you? So my son lets me know, yes, Logan's here. Don't you see him? Don't you feel him? You know? Well, it's been a challenge for me because I didn't have like that something to recognize him, but now he is
Right.
making himself so known. It's just fabulous. It's fabulous because he was a kid that if you were in a wheelchair, or if you if you were in, he'd be so curious about you, about your life, about who you are, and he made friends with strangers so easily and on his own. So he, like for example, he made friends with the neighbor downstairs, and he would go and see her, you know, and just hang
He was a
out. And
little boy when he died. We're not talking even teenager yet.
he was 10
So
and a half.
that's
He
pretty
was,
impressive.
yeah, he
So
just had that
sensitive.
spirit of being interested and curious, but also of just loving people, just being a light of love, you know. So
Mm.
now here,
I
you
know,
know, I
good
can't,
angel guide or something.
yeah,
I
and I can't help
feel
but feel
good.
like he's part of this, you know, part of this, because I believe we talked, you know, a few days after his birthday.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah,
yeah,
so
we did.
just really
We
beautiful.
we talked on the 19th.
Hmm. His birthday was
Wow.
on the 15th, but yeah, so just that his energy was present, you know, his energy was really present. So I love that. I love that. Well, I want to thank you. I don't want this to go on too long because every idea that we've touched on, like dream work and energy work and all of those things could be a segment of their own, and maybe we'll do that,
Be
or even
fun.
book content and that kind of thing. But when these tend to go on too long, then people get disinterested. So I'm going to keep it short, and then see if you and I want to do something again in the future.
That sounds like fun.
So people, if they want to get in touch with you, there will be a link on this video on the YouTube channel so that they can reach out to you, send you an email
Great.
or something like that.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fun too.
All right,
My
great. Well,
favorite subject.
I'm going to pause the recording.